so I have that it's 6:02, so I'd like to call to order. We have Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson. I'm actually going to put a pause on the minutes for this week because there was a slight change I saw on item Q that I just wanted to go over with the city clerk, and that was just to specify the sustainability recommendations that I had made during the meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So I'm going to approve them, have us approve them for next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with, this is the first item, which is the designation of the official newspaper for the city, and that is the Daily Star. It's recommended. Any comments? Questions? We need to designate this as the official paper as a council, which has been the tradition.
I was going to crack a joke, but Lauren's here and I don't want to be.
You don't want to actually be in the Daily Star.
I don't want to be on the front page.
No headlines.
You can write on little pieces of tape and pass it around.
That's foilable.
That's right. Any from the other council members? Any questions about this? No?
I would say that
oh,
it's,
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the only option out of this.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Kind of, what is the
No
history of
around it.
having an official newspaper designated? For what's
It's
what's
as long as
purpose
the
of
Daily
that?
Star has existed, I believe it's been the Daily Star.
But
Yeah.
it didn't start, it's actually a state law requirement
You
that we
need-
have to have, for
Uh,
the purpose of publishing legal notices.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's illegal for legal purposes. Okay, great. Thank you.
If there were another newspaper that was a daily newspaper in the same jurisdiction, then you could have two to choose from. but
Yeah.
We only have one, so.
Our default. Okay. Great. So we can move that along to the consent, and then we'll move on to the book of parliamentary procedures that apparently gets approved. Are there any comments about this approval? We were talking earlier about our knowledge of these procedures and if we need to, excuse me, if as a council we need to become perhaps better acquainted with these procedures or not. What would that mean?
I think it could go in the consent agenda.
Well, I was just curious before we talk about where it goes, are there questions or comments about this?
I'll just say,
Yeah.
who's here, that I would like to discuss it. So
Yeah.
if there isn't a lot of discussion here,
Yeah.
it would be from discussion agenda. we can do it.
Do you have any specific discussion questions about it?
Well, yeah, no, you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of my concern, which is that, we improve it every year, but the more that I'm here,
Yeah.
and the more that I read it, the
Yeah.
less I feel like we actually follow it. So
Yeah.
if we are going to, we have to, approve some set of rules for our meetings,
Yeah.
that we should all, look at these, make
Yeah.
sure that we want to follow them, or, discuss alternatives, before we just boilerplate, like,
Yeah.
we'll do it, and then
Rubber
we don't
stamp
do
it,
it.
right.
Yeah, so,
Well, I think we could think about maybe as part of the discussion we could have as council is how we could become better acquainted. Besides taking an exam on these procedures, which no one would want to do, I assume.
It's stimulated
I
reading.
love
I don't know why
It
everybody,
is.
you should read right before.
Absolutely not.
It's really quick, though.
It is, like, it's very, it's like.
It's
something that I keep
succinct.
Going back to,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep thinking about is the implementation and the follow through, how to make sure that, and then
Yeah.
make sure that we're really sticking with it, as we go through.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's more important than us reading it is the mayor reading it, because that's who's chairing the meeting,
Mhm.
and really whose role it is to ensure that we're following these. So, I think we can support that by being familiar
Yeah.
with them and trying to follow the procedure, but I think generally also, I don't want to exclude the mayor from that conversation, 'cause, he'll need to be familiar with
I'm most
Carrie,
familiar with.
yes, it-
There are others, yeah, Robert's rules is certainly not recommended, you need a
It's not.
parliamentarian, that's for
Oh, okay,
bodies that have
gotcha.
like hundreds of members.
Yeah.
The council is also certainly willing to, or welcome to write their own rules.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I was.
It doesn't have to be a predisposed list, you can develop what you want. NICOM has a fair amount of trainings on the open meetings law, which will give you a very good understanding of the basics. And then Dave Merzick, is familiar, and, him and our office would be more than willing to work with you guys if there are any questions you have. I mean, it's what we do day in and day out, so.
Well, yeah, I wonder, to go to your point, Carrie, about Nikon, I wonder if it's worth us all taking a
Yeah.
course or some sort of, whatever they offer, training is the word
They
I'm
do
looking for.
webinars, I know, periodically.
I wonder if there's a way we could have
There's
us do
NICOM,
that.
and then there's Kristen O'Neill, she's from the Committee on Open Government. She loves to come out and train, her sessions are usually about an hour.
Oh,
So we
really?
may be able to, prior to a meeting, get her
Yeah.
to come out in person.
Oh, yeah.
Her training style is amazing in that she does a 15 to 20-minute PowerPoint, but then she gears her conversation towards the questions you have.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Because I think that, and I don't know, so this is sort of separate, I think, because it's required in the required motion, sort of separate from the, like in legislative committee, we're looking at some of the meeting policies for other municipalities. And so my question is nebulous at this point, but it's sort of like, could we potentially, do those things have to be separate?
No.
And, could we just define, could we look at what other municipalities do, sort of define? And if that's the case, if we're sort of already doing that in legislative committee, might it be best to, I'm all about that training, so I wanna be clear about that before I say what I'm also thinking, which is, like, familiarize ourselves more with these things for now, and then kind of continue this conversation and maybe be able to, like, amend our operating rules at some point during the year. Is that a possibility?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Just can't do it mid-meeting. You have to start a meeting with them.
Okay, cool, got it.
Yeah, so if we vote on it, you vote it for the next
The next.
meeting,
That
it'll
makes
take
sense.
effect.
Okay, cool. Cool, because some of the things that I'm reading, from other municipalities, like, I really love. And I'm excited for that conversation to, be a little bit more broad, thinking about how we jive with what we're doing.
So would that mean, in our discussion for council, would we maybe not approve this?
Could we extend, I don't know.
You could approve this, sorry not to interject.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we want.
That's what we want, sorry. I'm getting better, I'm getting better. So, you could approve to move forward with this set of rules, and there's absolutely nothing from stopping you. I mean, Dave Merzick will tell you if you have 5, you can do anything. So, if
Okay.
whenever you say, we wanna change this, say June 1st, you have a new set of rules that you've developed, you've approved as a council, you can implement those starting June 1st. and move
Okay.
forward from there.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. And that could be based on the training we
It
are.
could be based on training, it could be based on conversation, as
Yeah.
long as it's, legally compliant, you
Yeah.
can.
Cool. All right. Excellent. So we'll move this to the discussion agenda so that we can have bring this up more fully, so that's helpful. Okay, so our next item is, authorization, from the finance
Can I ask a
department.
question before we move on? I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Do we wanna maybe let Dave, our attorney, know that we might be thinking that way, so he can be prepared for some,
Uh-huh.
alternatives and,
Questions?
cause I think I know he's got a couple other municipalities under his, and they might file something different than this, so.
The other thing we may wanna do along that line is invite, our city attorney to our legislative committee meetings. If we're
To what?
legislative committee, if we're gonna talk about that there, just have them be, because we wanna make sure it's legal, presumably if another city in New York State is doing it, like, it's okay,
So contacting him prior to our council meeting. To
Yeah,
alert
just,
him
yeah,
that
just to
we're
let
having
him know
this
that this is
discussion.
gonna be coming
Yeah,
on discussion,
And so
and
come prepared.
there's gonna be some questions.
Yeah.
And
That sounds
if you
good.
happen to know what the questions are, like what we just discussed, some of them here, like possibly other ones that follow,
Mhm.
other,
Sending them on to.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so, we have finance, this is now the authorization of, funds. To borrow funds, we need to have a motion, during 2025, this is the we see the description here that's offered, to, in anticipation of receipts of revenue.
Yeah, what this does is the council is giving the director of finance the authority to, follow the procedures for issuing debt, when it is time to do so.
Yes.
Just a dumb question, what if we said, no, we didn't wanna do this? What does it do for you?
Then what it means is that you have no, you could choose, say you wanted to choose Greg. No, it's normally the chief financial
Right.
officer that does it. So if you say no, then, you're going to have to designate someone to, do the debt issuance. So you could, if you choose a council member, or if you choose Greg, or you choose the mayor, or whoever, I will be the one coordinating it with them. They will be the ones that will have to sign all the paperwork and sign all the bonds. They will have to be at all of the meetings, discussions with bond counsel and with fiscal advisors, and they would have to be the ones completing all of the paperwork, because when you issue debt, you have to submit a lot of, informational statements, and you have to complete an official statement, gathering all the information that bond counsel is requesting. So those, whoever you designate to do that would be doing all of those tasks.
The bonds are for capital projects?
It's, yes, whatever bond authorizations that the council approves, it's to fund those capital projects.
So this is just following up on the bigger projects that we've already approved?
Well, it's not really following up on them, it's giving me the authority to be able to, make the process go forward at the time when we need to issue the debt. So say, for example, you've already authorized debt for the River Street construction. I have not issued the bonds on that yet, because I wanna do it with a bigger bond, so that way we're paying less closing costs and bond counsel costs when we combine all of them. We did the BAN for, Market Street. Now, probably in late 2025, we'll be doing the permanent financing once that project becomes almost complete. I will have the authority to move that process forward and to replace the BAN with the permanent financing. As we know, we got the wonderful news, but for any of our water or sewer projects that we have the authorized bond motions for, when those projects get completed, then I will have the authority to go out, to start the bonding process.
And who buys the bonds?
It will, work with ORIC down in New York City. They were here for that presentation,
Mhm.
last year, and fiscal advisors. And what they do is they go out to bid, and different companies will bid on, the bonds. We usually get 4 or 5 investors, who bid on them, and then obviously we take the lowest interest rate that's, offered.
One time I tried to, the county, Otsego County was issuing bonds, and I called up the treasurer and said, I'd like to buy some. You can't do that.
No, we can't do that. No.
I thought it would be like nice to,
Yeah.
buy
what we-
somebody who wasn't,
Yeah,
you
what
can't
we
do
could
it.
do is, if you invest with the company that buys the bonds,
Yeah, there's always a middleman,
yeah,
I think.
then you would be able to do it that way.
Yeah. But that's almost impossible, because to get the specific municipalities
Yeah.
bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Thank you.
So that's what that does. So if you wanna give someone else that responsibility, then, I will teach that person all of the procedures.
Yeah, and the tradition has been the finance director has done
Oh,
this,
yes.
yes,
It's-
so it, like a no-brainer.
It was more of a
So-
curiosity question, I'm serious.
Yeah, there's also timing issues, because as you know, the markets change every day. And if bond council knows that we're ready, they will tell me what timing to go by, because they're watching the markets every day. And, so sometimes the Right, yeah, and say, okay, council, I need to do this, because we might miss an opportunity.
Right. So I think given that there's the tradition set with the finance director, that we should move it just to consent.
Mhm.
That's
I
simple,
agree.
straightforward. Okay. So our next item is also from finance, which is the banking depository designation. So we need to annually designate the banking depositories for this part of city funds.
Yeah, so what we do is, right now, the majority of our holdings is with New York Class. It's a, designed specifically for municipalities that pays a very high interest rate. That's basically where all of our restricted cash is and some of our unrestricted cash. NBT Bank has the majority of our cash flow for everyday operations. Community Bank, has some of our investment, but they also handle, basically, they have all of our, community development activities and bank accounts there. We don't do anything with Key Bank any longer because their fees, they were going to start charging us, a lot of different fees, so we pulled all of our money out. And we, have a small bank account with Cooperstown Bank or Wayne Bank. We don't do much activity with them. But leaving these options open for the finance department gives us the ability to move the cash around to wherever we need, whatever's best for us. MBT Bank does not charge us any fees, so that is a very good thing for us.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And the tradition has been to,
We nominate, yes,
Diversify with these
yes,
number of
we-
banks,
Yes, we
uh-huh.
try to spread the wealth between,
yeah.
between the companies.
Are you adding any this year that you didn't have? No. Okay.
We cannot, just for your knowledge, we are not allowed to have any cash held in the credit union.
Ah, okay, interesting. Okay. So I think we should just move that on to the consent agenda, given that there's, again, that tradition. Okay, so there are some paid appointments that we have for our next item, which is shared between the mayor's office and the city clerk and finance. So there is the annual appointments of the deputy purchasing agent, the city attorney, and the city health officer. So we have, let's see, Judy Sweet for the bingo inspector, Mark Simonson as the city historian, Eliza Lauritsen for the deputy purchasing agent, Diane Gregerson for the health officer, and David Mertzig as the city attorney.
Does everybody play bingo in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bingo?
Elks
For
Club.
sure.
Yeah.
I get about 40
So we-
people every
oh,
Monday
yeah.
night.
What's that?
Sorry?
About 40 people every Monday night.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a retirement gig, I'm gonna start going to bingo.
Just for information, I just wanted, just kind of a thank you to Judy Sweet. During COVID, when the bingo was not going on, she did not bill us for the quarterly billings, which I thought was very
Yeah.
generous.
So she's an inspector, is that what it is? To make sure that it's legitimate and all that?
Yeah, and then they have to.
She has to
report
file reports with us, she has to review their financial records and make sure that the sales are going as they're supposed to, make sure that our financial records are in order, that the site is as it's supposed to be.
So it's gambling on.
Charitable gaming.
Charitable
Yeah,
gambling.
the charitable gaming laws.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's interesting, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? If there's no other questions about the appointments, then I say we just move those to the consent.
Yeah.
And our next item is on the approval for the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, of which I'm a member of. Any questions about those?
Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the things you're looking at?
Well, we had our first year, we were able to receive certification from the state as a Climate Smart Communities member, and we had a whole bunch of actions to get that certification. So we were doing all these different actionable items, and the most recent, and I think one of the most successful things has been this volunteer, and they have different skills that they can then help if somebody brings in, like, say, a household item that's broken,
Mhm.
and a person has a skill to fix it.
So the
they
idea
do
is
it for free
repair it instead of
throwing it away, exactly.
Yeah.
So it creates that kind of, you
Mhm.
know, understanding that you look for sustainability in your household objects as opposed to just tossing them. So that was really, that was done. There was a repair cafe we did in November of this year, so.
Was it,
And it was
did people
successful,
come
yes,
in?
yes,
Yes,
people
successful?
came, and yep, people really liked it. So there's a plan to have another one, I think it's sometime in the late spring, or late winter, early spring. So March, February, March. So, yeah. So there's been some changeover, just a couple of people have left and a couple of people have joined, so that's what this is in regards to. Any other questions before we?
so there's no big, items that, you're working on to,
Well,
Reduce.
we've gotta figure out where we're headed as a task force now. Besides doing the repair cafe, we're looking at other actionable items. And it can be as simple as like procurement for the city, so, you know, getting the kinds of, you know, lighting or heating for the city, for buildings that are owned by the city, that are sustainable.
right, at Christmas
Energy
time, my
efficient.
2 daughters were discussing, stoves, gas stoves
Yeah.
versus electric.
Yeah,
And they spent 45 minutes discussing this and
Yeah.
going into all of the particulars.
yeah. Yes, so on the level of the municipal government, that's the kinds of discussions that we would be having, potentially.
So my hands were clean. I have an electric stove. My daughters have gas stoves.
So yeah, so that's what, and there's incentive, right now, New York State has incentive for projects, to be funded, so there is that. And I believe we're gonna hear about funding we receive from this program from the state later, which is really exciting. Okay, so we can move that on, in terms of the appointment list, to consent agenda. And our next item is a little bit more descriptive, it's the quarterly review for the city in terms of employment. So there are currently 9 vacancies, and that's in comparison to 14 a year ago. So, that's good news, I assume, for the city? Yeah,
I'd say so.
employing more people. And any questions or comments about this?
We don't really have to, other than
We don't have to do
move it
anything.
forward, we
No.
don't have to.
This is
go
just
into-
for our eyeballs to look at and to see. But I think you can see, just in terms of police, what's been highlighted for us, police and the public works
Mhm.
additions.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
Yeah, just to be clear, like the numbers reference the number of vacancies as of December 31st, 2024. So the new police officers we added, those changes aren't reflected in that. That'll increase our number of vacancies because we've added 3 positions as of the first of the year.
Right.
Is there an active list for the police, or do we have to do a test?
Here's a list. Trying to remember when the next test is, but there's a list.
And just so if you have a chance to look at this, the items in orange are the vacancies, correct? Greg?
No, orange that's a part-time position.
Oh, part-time.
So on the chart, the vacancies are only indicated by
Oh, right.
by the list of names under
Okay.
positions. It says vacancy. The color coding is blue is full-time, orange is part-time, green is seasonal, and gold is duties assigned by a stipend.
That's
Greg, may I ask if this includes, a recent resignation of the police department?
Yes. Yeah, as of December 31st.
How's turnover compared to, this
can show you, but one of those tables at the end of the packet, not the end of the packet, but the end of that one. The table, right there, the next one you got.
Thank you.
So this shows the number of hires, and I started putting this together back in January of 2022, so it shows from there through December of 2024. So it shows how many people we hired each month, full-time, part-time, or seasonal. And then it shows a 12-month rolling average. So if you kind of look at the 12-month rolling average, how many people we're hiring shows obviously how many people we're hiring, but it doesn't necessarily indicate how many people have left or what vacancies are. So you look to the right, that's where number of positions budgeted versus vacant. So if you track the very right set of columns, percentage filled for each full-time, part-time, seasonal total, with a 12-month
We're
average.
looking at the 12-month average, it's fairly steady, it doesn't have wild fluctuations.
No, I wouldn't say it's been wild, yeah. It's probably more informative to look at the numbers, just because the percentages, you don't see as much of an impact, but like the memo said, going from, whatever it was, 14 to 9. You can see the seasonal fluctuation in seasonal employees. Typically, they're all filled in summer and not very many, if any, in the winter.
So we don't have to do, that's just for,
Has there been fluctuations related to contracts? When, for example, raises or changes in rules, that kind of thing? Does that ever affect that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if, what factors are weighing in people's minds when they're choosing to stay or leave or come here. But looking at the data, I think when we've implemented, raises that we implemented across the 3 unions and administrators, and hopefully a 4th union soon, we've seen that have an impact. I mean, the timing of that, you can see from one year to the next, our vacancies are lower.
Because that's one of the reasons to do
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah,
To ensure stability.
yeah, stay competitive, yes.
I can add to Greg that my first 2 years here, I did multiple interviews on a weekly basis. There was a lot of turnover in DPW prior to the raises that were given to the CSEA. My interviews have reduced significantly since that happened.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks, Chris.
thank you. I just had a question about your employee recognition. Do we need to, will this be included in the council
Let's see, so this one,
agenda?
neither of these individuals were interested in or available to come to a council meeting for a recognition. They will get we're gonna do the plaque for everyone, regardless of whether they wanna come to, or available to come to a meeting.
Yeah.
So I can share that as an update. Well, the second one, obviously Gail, we know, we talked about that. She retired in October. And Kathy's retired now as of a couple days ago, and I think she's already moved. So unable to come.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'll mention that in our
Okay.
report.
I was just curious if we
Sure.
had that included or not. Okay, so we'll move on and talk, our next item is staffing for the Public Works. And that is for a operator trainee.
This is a vacant position. It's been vacated for about a month, and we're looking to fill this position.
And you have the person hired, is the person been hired, or is it?
We hired as soon as council approved
As
it.
soon as we say yes. Okay. Any questions about this?
No.
He's a part-time employee, yeah, currently.
And he's moving to full-time?
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions or?
No, yeah, because I was aware it was a part-time and becoming a full-time,
Yeah.
so it's really not a new employee, just moving up.
Yeah. Okay, so discussion agenda or consent? Seems fairly,
I'd put on consent.
yeah. Okay, so we'll move that to consent, and then our next item is the donation of a amount of $7,500 for soccer tournament, and it's an annual donation. It's been increased by $2,500. So we just need to approve the donation.
Yeah.
Yes, what a big
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. And the next item is actually also a donation, which is an anonymous for the purposes of purchasing an ambulance for the fire department. The amount is $60,000. And this is an annual donation as well, and it's increased as well.
Yeah, we should accept it.
Absolutely.
What a big thank you.
Yes, with a bow. So the next item, so we'll move both of the donation acceptance to the consent agenda, and our next item is actually a community development program update. So there's lots.
I had originally had 3 items on here to update you on existing grants, and now I get to also update you on brand new grants. So it's kind of exciting.
Yes.
So I'll start with the news. The 3 existing grants, I just wanted to bring you up to date on what's coming down the pike soon. On the Union Theater, the last contact that I had through email with the LLC, the grantee, they needed to present items to the HCR, the funding agency, by January 17th for the funding agency to consider a contract extension. And I've not heard anything back from the LLC, so I'll let you know when I find out what we're gonna do with it. The question being if they wanna provide those items and continue on with the grant. If not, then we'll be giving them the grant back to the state. The state's assured me that it will not impact our standing with the state for future grants, because this was out of our control. This is something grantee.
What's this for?
The Oneonta Theater
Oh,
roof stabilization
okay.
grants, $500,000 grant.
They weren't able to come up with the match, is that what it was?
They did have a match, they committed to it twice, and now they don't have a match.
Right.
This is for the roof stabilization?
Yes.
So that's kind of undetermined at the moment, that grant is sort of up in the air.
It's up to them, whether they wanna continue or not, and if they wanna continue, there's items that they have to have prepared relative to the match, relative to their, they need to show a financial plan, they need to show a commitment to the grant, there's a few items that they need to have done by the 17th.
But the city's kind of has stepped away only because it's up to them.
The city has discussed the situation with the state a number of times. The state, and the city proposed, extending the grant and asked the state what they needed in order to even consider that request. And the state got back to us, so we're now just waiting to hear if the grantee wants to move forward. If they do, then, we'll see what the state does about the extension. And then if they extend it, then we'll keep going forward. But I think we also need to have some parameters in place ourselves relative to the match and the commitment to the funding. Because if we have an extension, we don't wanna be in this situation again 6 months from now.
So some actual firm deadlines.
Firm deadlines, maybe an escrow, whatever we can do legally to protect the city's risk. It's quite a risk for us to take as well. If the project doesn't get completed, we would owe the money back to the state. It's always a risk when we do development projects. So we would have to put in some parameters with conversations with the city attorney as to what we can do. But I don't have an answer yet, so I can't take that next step.
Thank you.
So the second grant, we have the CDBG grant for CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program for lead service line replacements. This was for about 130 some properties that have already been identified as having lead service lines. we had $213,000, I think. I'm sorry, $205,800 grant. We were able to, and we reached out a number of times directly to the homeowners through mailings and, postcards. We were able to get 6 property owners to participate. We did get a short extension, grant extension on that through the end of this month, that they'll all be completed.